Now, British troops could be deployed on the ground in Gaza to help deliver aid via a new sea route.
Well, the US has said that no American forces would go ashore and an unnamed third party would drive trucks along a floating causeway onto the beach.
Well, the UK is understood to be considering tasking British troops with this when the aid corridor opens next month.
Well, Whitehall sources saying no decision has been made, and both the Ministry of Defence and the Israeli army have so far declined to comment.
Well, Defence Editor for the Evening Standard, Robert Fox, joins us live now. Good to see you this morning, Robert. And is this something that is wise, putting British troops on the ground in Gaza?
It's something British troops could do, and some might say it's the sort of thing that British troops ought to do. But we have the terrible cover, as it were, of the American argument that they won't put their troops in harm's way. And in this kind of operation, America has form. America held up going into Kosovo in 1999 because they were worried about force protection. There was very little opposition. It's very strange the way they operate. They're very well aware of force protection, by the way, in Afghanistan, and yet took huge amounts of casualties when they took over a hotspot like Sangin from British forces. Now, the wider aid operation, I think, is going to be a very important, and always has been an important part of British forces. But I do understand the reticence of Whitehall, and particularly Number 10, in that they want cover and guarantees. I think, one, there must be a UN mandate, and I think the Israelis, Hamas and Islamic Jihad must be explained what the rules of engagement are. There is a potential of vulnerability from either side. But I think it can be done. But I think Britain would want to do it with an ally, and I would suspect that would be a Scandinavian and possibly France.
Well, couldn't you? I mean, why can't it be done on? And I don't know quite how these things work, Robert, but under the banner of UN peacekeeping.
I think that's exactly what it would be if they were blue helmets. We're only talking, I think, of a few hundred drivers. It's quite limited, but they are, as you rightly read in your from your intro, that they're going on the beach. They are potentially in harm's way. But I'm finding this very, very difficult. Potentially, that's what happens to soldiers, people in the armed services. You don't expect to get killed or shot, but risk is inherent in it. And this is a very good thing. I think Lord Cameron will want this to happen because it gives Britain leverage, and they really want to bring the whole Gaza-Rafah business to a conclusion within weeks. That's when they've really got to push the Israelis on that as well as Hamas, because they really want it wrapped up. And who wants it most of all? Joe Biden, because he doesn't want to go into a general election campaign. That is the election post the conventions for the presidency, with all this hanging around still. He's going to have Ukraine, and he's going to have Ukraine big time, and he's still got the Houthis. But he wants this one, I think, resolved. Whether he'll get it, I think it's about 50-50 at the moment.
What is the situation with the aid corridors in Gaza at the moment, by land and by sea? Well,
there is limited access. A certain amount seems to be delivered on the periphery. And I'm not going to use fancy words because it's completely the wrong way to do it. This building, this elaborate, ingenious idea of building an offshore harbour, causeway, facility, sounds fantastic, doesn't it? And we've seen all the grainy black and white films and documentaries and mockumentaries about World War II and the Mulberry Harbour after D-Day, which was such a success. This absolutely isn't the way to do it. You want a humanitarian corridor from the north, and it would have to be the south, considering the bulk of the population. So many of the refugees of the Palestinians have now gone to the south, up from Egypt, but parties are not willing to do it. And that's what a robust UN would do. You would have guaranteed humanitarian corridors with very robust rules of engagement. Oops. Think of getting that past the Security Council with China and Russia having a veto.
Look, sort of closer to home, if you like, Robert. What's this about a hypersonic missile that we're planning to build in the UK?
Well, we're paying a bit of catch-up there. But
Well, I was gonna say.
hypersonics are all over the place, and there's a dreadful fear that the Chinese particularly are ahead, and the Russians have been using them. They've been quite effective in downing them. But this is why things are so tricky. It's funny, we're talking about Gaza. I mean, the things are on a knife edge over the next few days and weeks in Ukraine, as we see the battle of the breakout from Avdiivka and Bakhmut at this mountain or high place called Chaziv Yar. The problem is it's all being done by electronic warfare. It's very difficult to envisage this because somebody who had been on the front line was explaining to me, you put up drones, you put up this, that and the other, and you have to go through what he called was an electronic barrier hidden, which is downing a lot of the drones on both sides. This is why we got the announcement in Poland from the Prime Minister is, gosh, we're getting into the game. We're very good on certain kinds of weaponry, but we are late on a lot of it. We are, although we have global ambitions, we're not a global power, and we need pals. And I think the reliable pals are emerging to be from the north, the Nordics, the Scandinavians, the Baltics, which are small, and Poland.
Oh, OK. Robert, good to see you this morning. Thank you very much indeed.